Now on Mississippi Insight, a one-on-one with GOP candidate Ron Eller, why he's running and what he says he'll fight for in Washington. Plus, we'll have part two of our interview with Democratic candidate Pertis Herman Williams III for the 2nd Congressional District as he lays out his vision for Washington and why he believes voters are ready for a new voice. Mississippi Insight starts right now. I'm Byron Brown. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Insight. As the race for Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District continues to heat up, voters are hearing from the candidates who want to represent them in Washington. I sat down for a one-on-one conversation with Republican candidate Ron Eller to talk about why he's running, his policy priorities, and how he says he would address the issues impacting families here at home. What inspired you to run for Congress this term?
I'm running for Congress because Mississippi needs change. We see a lot of problems within Mississippi, and people would tell you Mississippi is the poorest state in the nation. But when you look at Mississippi, that's not exactly accurate. If we only looked at the 1st, the 3rd, and the 4th congressional districts, you would find that Mississippi would really be about number 42. The 2nd congressional district is so poor that it pulls down the entire state. Out of the 30 counties that compose the 2nd congressional district, 16 of those counties are in the top 100 poorest counties in the nation, 5 in the top 10. We need economic change, we need development. Years ago when I was on active duty, I was on President Reagan's detail, and he told me then, he said, Sergeant Eller, you're young, you're bright, you're energetic, and you ought to run for office someday. And I put that in the back of my mind. It was a great compliment. And then if you fast forward, being here in Mississippi during COVID, there was a little girl in Simpson County who was thrown out of school because her mask read, "Jesus loves me." I saw it on your news station. Her name was Lydia Booth. And I saw that news story and it made me mad. And I said, you know, that's not right. That'd be a violation of the First Amendment. And about the same time, Benny Thompson came out on national news and said he was suing President Trump for after his second acquittal from impeachment. And I said, that makes us in the state look stupid and that's a waste of taxpayer money. That morning I went to work dressed kind of like I am right now, and my boss looked at me. I work as a PA in cardiac surgery, so I'm usually in scrubs, and he's like, Ron, what are you doing? I said, what are you talking about? He says, you're going to a job interview this afternoon. I said, no, sir, if I was doing that, I'd have told you that. He said, why are you dressed like that? And I said, well, you know, you're getting ready to retire, and I'm just looking at my next career path. And he said, what are you thinking about doing? And I told him, and he laughed at me. The following day, my wife and I went to Sam's Club, and it was storming. I got out of the vehicle, and there's this bright, shiny metal disc laying on the ground. I reached down the side pocket to get the umbrella out to get my wife out, and I saw that, and I bent down and I picked it up. When I did, it's my Jonah the whale moment. It stopped storming. When I turned it over, it gave me a sign even I could read. Mm-hmm. It's a lapel pin, and it reads, United States Congress. Even I could read that sign. Mm-hmm. Now, fast forward a couple years, I had a major head injury, a scar across my forehead. It actually made me a mute and a quadriplegic. And while I was laying there on the ground, I said to God, I said, I know you're not done with me. You gave me some things you wanted me to do. And I've got to see my wife at least one more time so I can tell her what she means to me. We've now been married over 46 years. Next month we'll make 47. And I said, you know, I know this is nothing more than the story of Job. The devil's testing me to see if I'll curse you. And I will not curse you. I said, I know you raised Lazarus from the dead so you can raise a wretch like me, John 11. And I said, I have that faith that this could happen. Matthew 17:20, truly I tell you, if you had the faith as small as a mustard seed, you could tell that mountain to move from here to there and it would move. And since I'm fighting the devil right now, I got to put on the full armor of God, Ephesians 6:10-18. And I need you to give me the strength to get up off this ground. Well, I'm up, I'm running, I'm gunning, I'm still talking. You know, I'm fit to fight day or night, kind of stuff they taught me in the military. God has gave me a purpose, and I know that purpose is to do his will, to lead the state of Mississippi. We need leadership and action. We need to lead from the front. There are too many people trying to tell us that, you know, Mississippi's last. No, we're not last. We just need to promote ourselves. You know, when you look at Mississippi, some of the technologies that have happened here, first heart transplant was ever done. It was done here in Mississippi. First lung transplant was done here in Mississippi. You look at all the things that we do here in Mississippi, we are the pinnacle. We just have to be brave enough to stand up, blow our own horn, and promote ourselves. And I'm the guy that will do that. I'm the guy that can lead. You know, my day job in cardiac surgery, I have to make life and death decisions all the time on the split of a second. And I can do these things. Not only am I a PA working in cardiac surgery, I'm a retired military officer. I'm what they would call Mustang. I went from E1 to E7. I was a warrant officer. I retired as a captain. I made Soldier of the Year for TRADOC, Force-Com, Fort Benning, Georgia. I was non-commissioned officer of the year. I was nominated into the Sergeant Morales Club. I made Drug and Alcohol Person of the Year. I was selected as Outstanding West Virginian of the Year. I've done all kinds of things, and I'm still doing things. I finished high school in the military, and I actually left the military with 2 college degrees. I lived that commercial, be all you can be, and I'm ready to serve the people of the state of Mississippi. I've been serving people all my life, and I'm going to continue to serve. That oath I took back then to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, it had no expiration date on it.
You're taking on an incumbent like with Benny Thompson, who has a lot of money and has been there a long time. How do you expect to go against someone who has a lot of resources and has been in office for a long time?
Well, my campaign is truly a grassroots campaign, and I believe that with the help of certain individuals, this can come to fruition. I happen to be the chairman for term limits, so a lot of people out there who are in politics really don't like Ron Eller. 80% of we, the people, are in favor of term limits, and there are people that would tell you elections are term limits. That's not so, Brian. If you looked at it, 98% of all incumbents are reelected. Well, it's time for a change. It's not a red America, blue America, white America, black America. We're all Americans, and we have to be united for that common good. Because regardless of how you identify, we all want the same things. Everybody wants clean air and water. Everybody wants a safe place to live and raise a family. Everybody wants a good school and education for their children. Everybody wants a good job, and everybody wants lower taxes. Since we agree on those things, we have to be united for that common good. It talks about that in the books of Luke and Matthew. A kingdom that is divided is a house that'll fall. And our founding fathers talked about this. Patrick Henry in his last public address. United we stand, divided we fall. Well, I'm a uniter. I can lead from the front. We will do this. It's just a matter of the people getting behind this movement.
How would you promote economic growth and development in the 2nd District?
First thing we need to do is finish the pumps. You know, they were going to put the pumps online just a few years ago, and Benny Thompson got that project shut down. He went to the EPA. If we had those pumps installed, that way we could maintain the water within the tributaries so that we would not have flooding of people's businesses, homes, and farms. And this would allow us potentially to grow a 3rd crop. When you look at Mississippi, the #1 industry in the state of Mississippi is agriculture, bringing in almost $9 billion a year. Well, if we could grow a 3rd crop, think what that would do to the economics of the state of Mississippi. And not only is that an economic issue for the state of Mississippi, but food is a national security issue. You let any population go hungry for a period of just 3 days, and the summer of peace and love will look like a school picnic.
When it comes to infrastructure, what would you like to see done as far as how we improve roads and bridges in our communities?
A lot of that, you know, we live right here in Jackson. We're seeing that happen right here. But when you go out through the Delta, you don't see that. And we need to get more economic development within the Delta. In the 20 plus years that I've lived here in Mississippi, I haven't seen businesses moving to the Delta. I've only seen businesses moving out of the Delta. And as you keep losing tax base, you know, you'll never catch up. Case in point, look here in Jackson. Where'd Mercedes-Benz dealership go? 4.5 miles up the road into Richland. You know, why? Taxes. Puckett Machinery went straight down the highway into Rankin County. Taxes. You can't tax your way to prosperity. We have to make a business-friendly environment. We have to promote businesses and help businesses. We don't want to penalize businesses. We want to encourage business. And whether that is the guy opening up a sandwich shop or getting an Amazon to come in here. When Amazon was closing down their project to put their headquarters in Queens, New York, AOC got that shut down. I tried to go to Benny Thompson's office, was turned away. I went to the Hinds County Economic Developer and I said, hey, this is a great plan and something we could get into. And he was like, Ron Eller, you could never do that. And I'm like, why? He said, well, we don't have all the assets you need. And I said, look, you take somebody that makes $100,000 a year in Queens, New York, what do you have? Lower middle class. What do you have in central Mississippi? You have a rich person. I said, in the case of Hinds County, you're sitting on 20 east and west, 55 north and south. You have major railways, waterways, major airport. We have cheaper property, better tax structure, better weather. this is a no-brainer. We could go after that. He said, but we can't produce a couple thousand people that have those computer skills. I said, you know, I've looked into it. It's a 6-month training program that they offer themselves. It's a 3-year build to get this up and running. You can't tell me we couldn't train those people, but if we can't train enough, you know what? You build it and they will come, and that's going to produce jobs throughout the community, whether that's people building houses, cutting hair, you know, oil change place. It adds to the community.
If elected to Congress, how would you work with the other side across the aisle?
You know, you work for the best of the country and for your constituents. It's not about party. It's like we were talking earlier. It's not a red America, blue America. We're all Americans, and we have to work for that common good. And, you know, do the Republicans have a lock on all the great ideas? No. But they have a lock on a bunch of them. Do Democrats have a lock on all the great ideas? No. You find a common ground and you work from there for the good of the people, for the good of the nation and the state.
Ron Eller, running for the 2nd Congressional District as a Republican. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. And we'll be right back. How would you, if you're elected in the Congress, improve infrastructure, particularly here in Mississippi when we talk about roads, bridges, and even water?
But one of the things I like to say is we need to get back with our city employees, our county employees. When I drive around, I see a lot of contractors who don't live in the city, but they're working here. Who cares more about your city and the quality of work than the people who live here? I remember when I was young, we had a lot of city and county employees. Now we're using contractors. I think we need to bring those back, spread out those payments rather than lump sums to contractors, spread them out so that we can have a longevity in our city employees and offer them pension packages. So I think if we bring back the city employees, that in itself will help us with our infrastructure problem so that we won't have to call people in emergencies. We have an ongoing cycle of repair.
And when it comes to water, for example, in the city of Jackson, now there's talk about having their metro authority overtake, control the water system. Your thoughts on that, or should it go back to the city of Jackson?
I'll say we had a major issue. The team that's in place right now has been providing a service that is far beyond what I remember 5 years ago. I think that when we had a freeze last time, we didn't have, I didn't notice a lot of shutoffs. So I think that there's something that they know that they need to train us on in Jackson if we are going to take over that water servicing system, or see if there's a way that they can partner together, because for some reason Jackson lost our ability to handle that. Maybe it's due to training, maybe it's due to losing people moving out of state for better jobs. So we have to find a way to work with who's in power, who's in control right now, because they're doing a good job, and find a way to convert that money back into the city, because we do need that revenue coming back in to maintain our infrastructure and, like you said, fund schools. However, we don't want to cut off something that's working fine. So I think they just need to find a way to work together and figure it out, because the citizens don't care who's in charge. We just want water we can drink.
Crime and public safety, your stance on how we should fight crime, but not only just in Jackson or all over, but there's been crime issues across Mississippi.
The best way to fight crime is jobs, period. People who go to work every day, who make a decent living, aren't the criminals. And we're looking at a city that you have to drive to Madison or Canton to get a decent wage. I won't say livable, but decent wage. So as long as that's the case, you're going to have a high crime rate in Jackson. When you're asking the children to not only work at the fast food restaurants, you're asking adults to work there too. So if all we have in Jackson is restaurant, bars, and hotels, that's a formula for low pay, poverty, and high crime. So we have to start bringing jobs in. And one of the things I keep mentioning is, what would Jackson look like if we were having an access to Lake Hyco? What would it look like if we had access to the bathing pond at the zoo? Those structures of water automatically draw people to them. That brings in more home buyers rather than renters. That increases your tax base. And your poverty goes down when people are happy. Crime goes up when salaries go down, and vice versa. So we need to increase the salaries, give people pride again, and those salaries will go up, and that poverty will automatically go down.
There's a battle in Washington right now over the fight over ICE and how ICE is dealing with immigration, whether they should have masks on, whether they have body cameras, everything else.
Yeah.
What's your position on the situation in the battle of ICE?
When it comes to ICE, I think that wearing masks already seems criminal. It's like a bank robber. You don't want to be seen, and that gives you a mental ability to do wrong. And a lot of people don't know this. It's a lot of things that happen mentally to you when you have a mask on. It makes you more violent, more aggressive. So having our law enforcement with masks is one problem. That's just one of the problems. For some reason, they keep mentioning how much deportation took place with President Obama compared to President Trump. What my question is why didn't we notice it? If we didn't notice that President Obama deported more people, what's the difference now? Is it that they're purposely using the media to make it a big deal? Or are these agents doing something different than they were doing under President Obama? And that's one of the things we have to address, is if they're doing something different and being more aggressive and wearing masks, then we need to reevaluate how they're doing business, because we shouldn't notice if immigration is doing their job no more than we knew under President Obama.
How would you work across the aisle if you're elected?
The first thing I would say is let's focus on what's most important to us all, the children. If we all focus on the children and making the future a better place, we should have less to disagree about. It's not about self and our older selves, whether you're 30-something, 50, or 60. It's what do we see the future being for those teenagers and under. If we're not focusing on their safety and their progress, then we're not doing our jobs as an adult. So what we need to do is focus on how to make the future better for those children, and we make the future better for ourselves.
What are your 3 top priorities?
3 top priorities is unity in Mississippi across those districts. The plans I have will bring Mississippi prosperity, and I hope it will bring us together. We need a more diverse community working together. Second priority is rebuilding the family unit. I think we need to get back to family structure, to where we have time with our children. 16-hour work days are not impressive to me when we don't have children who understand how to read. So the third priority would be we need to focus on loving one another deeply. And that's across the aisles. If we start loving one another, then we will appreciate what all of us bring to the table. Nothing that we're doing is unifying us and taking our best and brightest and putting them to the forefront. And that's something we have to do. If we're planning on moving forward into the future, our best and brightest need to start working together.
All right, Pertis Herman Williams III. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Remember, we have several candidates running for the U.S. House of Representatives 2nd Congressional District. On the Democratic side, you have incumbent Benny Thompson, Evan Turnage, and Pertis Williams III. On the Republican side, you have Ron Eller and Kevin Wilson. Mississippi's primary election is Tuesday, March 10th. You're watching Mississippi Insight only on 12 News. And we'll be right back. If you have comments or questions about today's show or suggestion for an interview or a segment, just drop us a line. Email our producers. The address is news@WJTV.com. Big thanks to Ron Eller and Pertis Williams III for joining us this week. We'll be back next weekend with more of the political and current affairs questions and coverage that you demand. I'm Byron Brown from all of us here at 12 News. Make it a great weekend.